Alright everyone, we start off today with perhaps the most epic cell phone that I've ever seen on the entire internet. I've seen some humdingers, of course. I've been around for a while, since the late 2000s in social media in general, and I've been using the internet since the late 90s. I don't think that I have words really to describe what I'm seeing here. I'm going to read this verbatim for people because otherwise people will probably think that it's a parody. I'm sure that most of you are aware of this story. I got 5 or 6 people tipping me off the other day about it. I am proud to have contributed to the community note that is on this particular post, but the archived link is in the description. When you get ratioed that bad, there's a good chance that it gets removed. Usually silently, they wait until the din dies down, remove it, and say, oh God, I hope nobody ever brings that one up again. We see this commonly from left-wing craptivists. The ACLU is a craptivistic firm at this point. They used to have a use. They used to be functional. These days, they have completely sold out. Here was their tweet. And hold on to your assholes, because you probably shit yourself in frustration wondering how a person with a functioning medulla is capable of making this level of a basic strategic blunder. ACLU the other day. The state of Florida never provided medically necessary gender-affirming care to Duane Owen, causing her enormous suffering and violating her right to be free from cruel and unusual punishment for the more than 30 years she was in state custody. Okay, so someone's been deprived of their human rights because they're transgendered and they can't get tampons or something in prison. I'm not exactly sure. What do you mean? Like not giving a person who's in a high security facility needles to inject themselves with estrogen? Yeah, I mean, having a needle in a high security prison might be a little bit difficult. So, you know, we'll try to work past the basic systematic stupidity on that level, and then we'll look at the case. Now, I should preface this. I do not support the death penalty. I support putting someone in prison for the rest of their lives to be abused by other prisoners in retaliatory justice and looking the other way. I do not support executing people. I do not believe that the state should ever wield that power, even for the most egregious of crimes. And as you will see, this individual engaged in a couple of particularly egregious crimes, one of which is the highly creepy. I wouldn't have had him executed. I'm going to use him because this is clearly not a female. This is a biological male. The case helps belie that as well. I would have just let him sat there and continue rotting in prison. You know, you might suffer for another 20 years. I think that's better than killing them. It's definitely, I would much rather get the death penalty and have it expedited. Of course, again, sitting in prison for 35 years, that's the efficiency of our death penalty system. You can make it a lot quicker. I'll give a suggestion on that. But I do not support the death penalty. I think it's worse punishment to know that you might live to be 100, like you don't manage to hang yourself in your cell, and you spend 70 years of your life or something withering away knowing there's no hope. I think that's a bigger condemnation than just getting it over with really quick, even if the death by lethal injection is said to be easily botched, highly painful, and sometimes apparently they've used the wrong chemicals. I support bringing back a Coliseum system. Tiered justice. 8 people start out, 7 of them fucking croak, and 1 of them gets to go free on supervised release, of course. There would be some crimes that would not be eligible for this, and for many things I don't think it should be considered a crime at all. I think that most of the things that people are in county jail for should be a slap on the wrist fine or community service, for example. We could clear out our jails, we could reduce the prison population, we could kill off the killers and the rapists and stuff really quickly, and the rest of them, hopefully they've learned their lesson. Or you reduce their sentence to, you know, they have to get therapy, mandatory therapy for a couple of years in prison setting until a doctor signs off, then they can go, or something like that. Murderers probably would not be counted on that list, and Duane Owen was a murderer. The ACLU is bitching and complaining about an impossible situation where you'd have to give, again, needles, potentially, to someone in a highest security facility. Now, what did Duane Owen do back in the 1980s? What was he up to? Oh, not much. He just killed a 14-year-old and violated her corpse. And then he killed another woman later on. Yeah, sounds like a stand-up guy. Corpse raping. The ACLU chose this particular individual to complain about. That's not a good look. Look, even if someone is amenable to your argument, well, yes, hormone replacement should be available in jail. I don't think the average person of sound mind is going to do anything other than dogpile you when this is the particular individual that you choose to hold up as an example. Again, I can oppose the death penalty, although, death is something that some people do deserve. Duane Owen seems to be one of them. I simply have a problem with the state wielding that particular power. But is this really the person that you want to simp for? Why don't you point out an example of a non-violent criminal, like a felon, who got 20 years in a facility for, I don't know, fraud or tax evasion or something like that, and is complaining that the prison won't allow them to transfer to a woman's prison? I would notice that the reverse never happens. That is quite telling. It's almost as though there's a difference between the biological sexes. I wonder, how can we reconcile this with the newspeak of the woke crowd? I wonder how they're going to explain it to me. I haven't seen any of them do so. They just call me a bigot when I disagree with them, but there's no forthcoming explanation. We can debate about that if we want, but Duane Owen, again, he killed a 14-year-old and raped her corpse. He then proceeded to kill somebody else later on and finally got caught out and was given the death penalty. You don't have to like the death penalty, but I'm not going to sit there and defend this individual. You're not going to find me doing that. You'll find me castigating the state that kills a lot of 14-year-olds in other countries, you'll note, as well as in the United States itself. But that doesn't mean that Duane Owen was anything other than an unrepentant shitfuck. And then this is frivolous too, but prisoners have begun doing this, male prisoners. Well, I'm actually a woman now. The state has to it's basically being a barrack room lawyer. If you've ever heard that term, somebody in the military that's like complaining about how their rights under the Foreign Legion's charter are being violated or something, attempting to berate the commanding officer, look up barrack room lawyer. That's basically what's happening with 99% of these cases. The dude is seeking to be transferred to a women's prison so that they can, as he does, rape women. He appears to have raped the second victim as well, although I think in that case it was prior to death. With the 14-year-old, I think it was before and after, making it one of the most creepy murders you could imagine. I know it's not a funny thing, but, it's like, I'm thinking of the ACLU using this individual to try, and by the way, aren't you therefore taking a killer and pervert, proven pervert, I mean, he fucked a dead body of a minor, too, and you're bitching about that in the context of gender identity. Well, doesn't that... what does that say about transgendered individuals? I can guarantee that the average trans individual, anyone under the LGBT, fake idpol umbrella right now is pissed at the ACLU over this, because it's giving really cheap ammunition for people that genuinely might be like, oh, I hate gay people or something like that. They'll dogpile you for this. Because you've lumped all these groups together. Now a pedestrian random gay dude who just wants to, fuck a man in the ass or something like that is going to be lumped in with Duane Owen, a la the ACLU, and then simping for, bitching about someone not getting HRT who, again, killed a 14-year-old and then did things with the corpse Buffalo Bill style. That's a really great look, ACLU. You did such a good job. And by the way, the ratio definitely belies that. You should go to the live variant of this. But you can grab that at the top. Check the ratio. It's probably 10 times worse today. They were trending for like 3 fucking hours. The damage is done. And I'm sure that they lost a bunch of people following them. And then gained others that are like, wow, this page says some crazy shit that's easily exploitable for meme purposes. I think I'll follow them. Yeah, you just definitely shifted the Overton window within your audience. Good job. That's about all. Peace out.